a large-scale special operation deep in the Russian rear, the aim of which was to destroy Russian bomber aviation, which attacks Ukrainian cities every night. Drones targeted Russian aircrafts, including A-50, Tu-95, and Tu-22. Video footage shows the Belaya airfield in flames, according to sources. This unique operation is called SPIDERWEB. The damage caused to the enemy already exceeds $2 billion. Some sources even say $7 billion, $500 against $100 million, the perfect ratio. Clash Report analysts note that in terms of cost-to-damage ratio, SPIDERWEB is a unique operation in the history of modern warfare. One Ukrainian FPV drone costs $300–600 and the modernized Russian strategic bomber Tu-95 more than $100 million. That is, one drone destroys a target 100,000 times more expensive than itself. Butusov writes that 41 were damaged or destroyed. He is usually well informed. If so, then the Russian Soviet Air and Space Force suffered the greatest losses in its entire history. 2 working A-50s from the 610th Central Air Defense and Defense Command were hit. Number 1 is definitely RF-50608. This is the same plane that was already hit in Belarus, then it was repaired, and this time it was confirmed to have been hit by several drones, and is unlikely to be able to return to combat use. The number of the second is questionable, but most likely it is RF-50601, which flew in March of this year. Potentially it could be RF-94268, so 2/4 of the operating aircraft of this type are affected. 8 Tu-95 all 8 fully mission capable, at least 6 loaded with KH-101. This was between 70% and 100% of the most often flown part of the Russian Tu-95 fleet, and thus the best part. Biggest success of this operation. Clear photos of the Belaya Air Force Base confirming 3 Tu-95 missile carriers completely destroyed, 1 Tu-95 missile carrier seriously damaged, 4 Tu-22M3 missile carriers completely destroyed, thus the losses of strategic aviation. At this airbase are 8 aircraft. All Tu-95 that were at the Olenia airfield were destroyed. Some of them were already armed with X-101 cruise missiles. NATO confirms that at least 40 Russian strategic aircraft have been damaged, said one of the alliance's leaders, who spoke on condition of anonymity. He said that between 10 and 13 aircraft were completely destroyed. Among the damaged, 15 Tu-95S-20, Tu-22S, at least 1 A-50 radar surveillance aircraft, of which Russia has only a few. NATO estimates that the attack put 34% of all Russian missile carriers out of action. Zelensky personally supervised the operation, and the idea was implemented by SBU chief Malyuk and the SBU team. First, FPV drones were transported to Russia, then mobile wooden houses, later on Russian territory. The drones were hidden under the roofs of houses, already placed on trucks. At the right moment, the roofs of the buildings were opened remotely, and the drones flew out to strike Russian bombers. SBU agents secretly transported 150 small attack drones and 300 pieces of ammunition to Russian territory. 116 drones took to the air and hit targets. The drones were controlled via Russian telecommunications networks using automatic guidance systems. Several mobile drone launch pads were set up near Russian strategic aviation bases. The attack on the Olenia airfield, where the Tu-95 is based, was particularly successful. The drones hit fuel tanks, and a large part of the aircraft completely burned down. A total of 41 aircraft were confirmed to be damaged at 4 bases. This is the biggest blow to Russian military aviation since the beginning of the war. The Russians no longer produce new strategic bombers, be it Tu-95, Tu-22M3 or Tu-160. They have neither the capacity nor the capabilities, and they will not have them anymore. Everything is lost. If a couple of years ago they assembled them from old spare parts to please Putin, it was just for show. So any such destruction is irreparable. Russia operates 2 types of nuclear-capable heavy bombers: the Tu-160, known to NATO as Blackjack, and the Tu-95 known as Bear H. We estimate that there are roughly 67 bombers in the active inventory, of which perhaps only 58 are counted as deployed under New START. In addition to modernizing its existing strategic bombers, Russia is also reproducing additional Tu-160 bombers and appears to plan as many as 50 aircraft. The delays associated with the Tu-160M program have been so severe that the Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade has filed a lawsuit against the aircraft manufacturer. It is possible that the eventual target of 50 new Tu-160M bombers will not be reached, but if it does, it would probably result in the retirement of most, if not all, of the remaining Tu-95MSs, which are expected to be retired before 2035. Did you know that the Tu-160 launches its hellish missiles from drums? Everyone knows that a cow can easily fit in the bomb bay of a Tu-22. But for some reason, not everyone knows about drums. And did you know that the Tu-160 is a pure missile carrier and cannot drop bombs on the ground? The Special Operation SPIDERWEB, during which the SBU struck 41 Russian strategic aviation aircraft, was being prepared for more than a year and a half, tells SBU sources, from where Ukrainian drone attacks were organized on Russian military airbases, using OSINT and careful examination of photographs. Russians geolocalized a warehouse where drones used in attacks on Russian airfields were assembled. This warehouse is 4 kilometers from the center of Chelyabinsk. The photos published by Ukrainian media show details of a warehouse room with a beam crane. The premises with the same crane and the same windows were previously rented for 350,000 rubles per month. An advertisement for the rental was found in the archives of specialized websites. The address of the premises, Chelyabinsk, Sverdlovsk, Track 28A. Despite attempts to erase the details of the photo, the main details remained recognizable. The shape of the windows, the door curtain, the crane beam, the structures of the storage room. There is an inscription on one of the walls, probably a phone number, which is also visible in the photo from Ukrainian sources. It is worth noting that the Chelyabinsk region borders Kazakhstan, from where FPV drones could have entered Russia. What Putin and Trump's eloquent silence after the Ukrainian strike means, it's more than humiliation. After some time Trump commented, "Something happened. The Russians are preparing something for retaliation." And it's not good, Donald Trump said about Operation SPIDERWEB. What's happening, especially between Russia and Ukraine, is very sad. We both think so. I would like it to end. But we are getting information that combat actions are coming. Something happened a few days ago and now the Russians are preparing a response and, it's not good, I don't like it. But I think we will succeed in the end, said Trump during a meeting with Friedrich Merz. According to Trump, he tried to dissuade the Ukrainians from retaliatory strikes, but the Russian president replied that he has no other choice but to attack. Donald Trump privately described Ukraine's recent strike on Russian airfields as powerful and cool, yet expressed frustration that such attacks are making peace talks far more difficult. One of his advisors reportedly compared the situation to a chihuahua inflicting serious damage on a much larger dog, a reckless provocation with consequences far beyond its scale. Trump has told his inner circle that the strike will likely push Putin toward a very significant response, and warned that continued provocations like this risk dragging the conflict out even further. He wants the fighting to stop. That's why every time something like this happens, it frustrates him, a senior White House official said. Another U.S. official noted the escalation risk, calling the attack on Russia's long-range bombers, part of its nuclear deterrent, a very dangerous moment. Just a couple days ago, Trump spoke with Putin and acknowledged that Russia would respond very decisively to any attack on its military airfields. Notably, he offered no criticism of Moscow's intent to respond. A couple of days later, Putin reacted and of course called SPIDERWEB a terrorist act. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that the terrorist attacks in Russia's Kursk and Bryansk regions could not have happened without approval from the top political leadership in Kiev. Other key points from Peskov: Putin warned Trump that Russia would respond if its airfields are attacked. Russia's response to Ukrainian attacks on airfields will be determined by the military. The decision to build shelters for aircraft was made by Sergei Shoigu on April 20, 2021. The plan for the development of the airfield network provided for the construction of more than 300 shelters, including those for fifth-generation military aircraft, and their creation was to be synchronized with the delivery of aircraft to the Army. The need for shelters was justified. Camouflage from satellites, improving the work of technical personnel, as well as protection from weather conditions, and of course from enemy attacks. In reality, the construction of these hangars began only after multiple successful strikes by the Ukrainians, and only under the leadership of Minister Belousov. Operation SPIDERWEB